network security, virtual private networks, OpenVPN, and some other software-based VPN solutions. I always recommend going for a dedicated device like a router or a firewall. I'm a Windows infrastructure engineer as well. Still, I appreciate some people prefer a piece of software that you can run. That's why I decided to include a video and discuss two applications, OpenVPN and one that you can use to hide your identity using VPN, CyberGhost. We'll start with OpenVPN. OpenVPN is an application that you can put on your Windows PC. It supports macOS, Linux. It is very similar to SSL. It uses similar solutions, and it is free. As far as I remember, it was created to compete with Microsoft solution that is really popular. It is SSTP, that's VPN Pptp over SSL, and people like to have an open standard protocol and application. That's why OpenVPN was created, to create point-to-point or site-to-site connections using SSL TLS. It is based on general public license. It means that you can use that for free. It has been implemented in many different places. One of the best examples is DDWRT, that's an alternative firmware for Linksys routers. You can find that if you flash your router using this firmware. One of the options, you can enable, for instance, Pptp server and OpenVPN, which is of course much more secure than Pptp on a Microsoft or server or on a router. The only problem that you can face with OpenVPN is that it can take some time to set it up. I do not recommend that if that is your first VPN solution. It can take a while to set it up, and if something goes wrong, for instance with OpenVPN certificate, then you have to Google it, post something on a discussion board. It can take a while to sort it out. I recommend starting with a hardware-based VPN or Pptp on a Microsoft server. It might be much easier to set up and much faster. There is a dedicated video to VPN platforms and you can check it over there. Still, a very popular solution, OpenVPN. Browse, read a little more and see if you like it. We are talking about software-based VPNs. I like to mention CyberGhost as an example of a secure VPN that is it's different. It is designed to hide your identity. To, if you want to make sure that, well, your actions cannot be tracked down, or your IP address. It's not only that, it means that you're doing something stupid, that's why you recommend an application like that. Well, not really. It is, as you can read every day when people and companies try and get as much information as possible about you, and it is enough. I was looking for for a nice place for my holiday today, and I spent like 2 hours browsing around. Then I went to Facebook, and you know what I saw? At least 15 adverts related to everything that I have been doing, or I had been doing 15 minutes earlier. A lot of people don't like this idea that, of course you can disable cookies, you can make it more secure. Still, in many situations, it is not easy to make sure that nobody can track your activities on your PC. Here are the main features. It is very easy to set up. It's a small application that you put on your PC, and you can enjoy safe online browsing. It is available for a desktop PC, and there is a mobile application for an iPhone and Android phone. Whereas there is a catch, it's not a free application. You have to pay. However, CyberGhost, they have been really active. That's why, well, there is a free version, but it will be really limited as far as I remember. Yeah, it will disconnect you after 3 hours, which makes it really useless in my opinion. I will keep my statement. It requires you to buy a package. If you're interested, I encourage you to Google around. You will find a lot of good deals and sometimes free premium vouchers for 3 or 6 months, especially if you subscribe or you buy an IT magazine. I remember I have seen that a few times, 6 months for free with CyberGhost. They're really active. I really like it that they want to, be proactive, show you that this is a good application. We have covered a lot of VPN topics. Now I'm pretty sure you understand AES-256. It's a very secure connection, and it can use OpenVPN. We can use L2TP, IPsec, and Pptp. Of course, I would go for the first two available protocols here. You can have up to 272 servers. It means that you can pretend you're in, Canada, even though you are in the UK. There are 23 countries enabled. And this package will allow you to use CyberGhost on one PC. That's a nice deal, 50% off the price. I'm pretty sure you can try it for free. I remember I tried that a couple of years ago. Now take a look, you can even pay by Bitcoin. If I had bought a few Bitcoins, I would have been a rich guy now. Well, yeah, that's CyberGhost. You can give it a try if you want to make your online browsing more secure. In this video, we talked about some software-based VPN solutions. I showed you OpenVPN and CyberGhost that can make your online browsing more secure. Thank you very much. Network security, virtual private networks. Setting up an Ssl Vpn portal on a firewall. I am going to use a Cisco ASA 5505 firewall and show you how to enable an Ssl VPN on it. It will be a full lab. It means we are going to start from scratch. There is absolutely no configuration on this firewall. All I did, I assigned an IP address, and I'll show you how easy it is to set it up and enable it on a pretty advanced and sophisticated ASA firewalls. To manage an ASA firewall, we use a piece of software that is called ASDM. ASDM, it is located on the firewall itself, and we have only a small application that will connect to this ASDM on the ASA. I assigned an IP address 10.7.7.1 and I am connected with a cable that is my inside interface. It doesn't really matter for now. The idea is to connect to it, enable SSL and see how it works. We go to configuration, and in here we have a few options. We are interested in remote access VPN. There are 2, maybe 3 things that we have to do to make it happen. First of all, we are interested in the clientless version of Ssl Vpn. We want to design a portal, right? That's what we want to do. We need 2 main things here, a group policy and a connection profile. We start with a group policy, which is pretty simple, and we're not going to modify a lot of options here. We'll name it Group Policy 1. When you go for more options, the most important thing is to lock it down to a protocol that we're going to use. You should notice that there are a lot of protocols available. It makes sense to enable the one that we're going to use. In our case, it is clientless Ssl VPN. We don't need VPN client, L2TP, nothing else. As you can see, there are some options for our portal. We will tweak all these things later on. We apply and send it to the device. The next thing is more important, connection profile. Before we go there, that is like an additional step, we have to tell this firewall which interfaces are allowed to establish an SSL connection. I will enable it for both and will apply it. It is time to create our profile. We can ignore that message. We click Add, give it a name, Profile 1. The first question is, what about the authentication? We discussed there are 2 main solutions available, local, or we can have a dedicated server like a Radius server. In our case, we want to keep it simple. We'll use the local authentication. We don't really need DNS settings because it is a portal only. Group policy, it is the one that we created. We go to Advanced, and to get it started, we have to create a URL. Something that we will give to a user, or if let's say you're setting up for yourself, you will use that to connect to the ASA. We click Add, and in my case, I will use the inside IP address. In the real world, in most cases, you specify the outside IP address or the DNS name. For instance, I don't know, let's say it is microsoft.com/SSL or whatever URL you're interested in. You can have more than one, by the way, and then customize it, create groups, policies. It is very flexible. For now, we want to keep it simple. I will copy that because I will need that when I open Firefox. Let's go to Firefox and see if it works. That is a message saying that Firefox cannot verify the identity of the ASA, and of course it makes sense because the ASA generated its own certificate. I'm okay with that. I will confirm and move on. That's a good sign. We can see a username and password screen. I will log in as the admin. We'll show you how to create a local account. And we can log in. That's a good start. That's the Ssl Vpn Portal, the main page that you will see or your users will see when they connect. What can you do from here? For instance, you can browse a website, an internal website, secure website. This is if you have a shared folder, or you can use FTP. There are some additional protocols that you could enable. Let's log out for now. That was simple, right? Let's create a user, because that's what we want to do. We go to device management. Here, if I manage to click, you will see that that's what is allowed on the ASA, and I am interested in this option, user accounts. I will create a new user account, add. I will call it test, password Cisco, and it's very important to go for this option. It means that this is a VPN user only. He's not allowed to manage my device, just to VPN and access whatever I allow this user to access. Let's go to Firefox again, log on and test it. It makes sense to test every single feature, especially if it's like your first VPN setup. Make sure that you're happy. On the ASA, you can go to monitoring, VPN, and if you go for clientless, you will see this connection has been established. What you have to remember is that an ASA like that will have 2 SSL licenses only. It means that, yes, you have to pay some money if you want to add more, if you want to have more users and allow more connections. You have to pay Cisco, and believe me, it is not cheap, especially for an SSL portal. It can be really expensive. That is the main reason why Cisco, they have been pushing that in the last couple of years. Let's go back to the configuration. Now we are very happy we can connect, but there is absolutely nothing on this VPN. We can add a lot of options and features here. I want to show you how you can create a bookmark and customize this screen. Let's start with bookmarks. What is a bookmark? It's very similar to a bookmark, for instance, in Firefox or Internet Explorer. Here you will tell your users, type this or that, and as you probably know, most of them will not memorize anything. We can create a bookmark. They can click on it and get to, for instance, a SharePoint website or a shared drive, whatever you have available in your network. You can give them access to their local PC. ASA supports plugins. You can add a small file on an ASA firewall, and thanks to that you can add new protocols. For instance, RDP, Remote Desktop Protocol, that allows you to connect to a PC remotely. A very popular solution for a user who works from home. We'll keep it simple for now, and we'll customize or create some bookmarks. We go to Remote Access VPNs, and almost all options are here under this portal option. We are interested in bookmarks. We'll create a new and call it bookmark 1. When we click add, it will specify a list of protocols and options that are available. I do not have any plugins, that's why, for instance, RDP VNC is not on the list. We could do that. Keep it simple. Bookmark title, test, and here you will specify this is a protocol that allows you to access shared folders and files. Let's say 10.7.7.2 X, a shared folder. You can get that from your infrastructure engineers, or of course if you're at home you should know what is the path for your local devices. Ooh, that already exists. Let's call it 1A. As you can see, I have played with these options already. Send. This bookmark is there, however it has not been applied to this connection profile group policy. We have to go there, and here in advanced it's not here, is it? Nah, it's under group policy. There are so many options that under the group policy we can add this bookmark. Here we go. Bookmark 1A. We click OK, apply, send. Sometimes it is enough to refresh the website, sometimes you have to log in and log off. Let's log out and test it. Test Cisco. This bookmark is there. If that is my local PC, because I specified a real IP address, not sure if X is a real folder, might not work, it doesn't matter, yeah. The idea is that you can see that in action, test, and it asks for a username and password. If I specify something that does not exist, it will tell you that straight away. Oops, I missed that. Let's refresh that. 8.8.3, something that does not exist. I will try and browse to it. It will complain that it cannot connect to that host because I specified something that was available. It will ask for a username and password. There are some issues with this protocol, and it's not a very reliable solution. In many cases you have to find some ways around to make it work. To be fair, that's not the most important feature. In most cases people VPN use this portal to access some, not files really, but PCs, and they use protocols like RDP, Remote Desktop Protocol, or VNC. Let's log out. I will show you how you can customize this screen. You can literally change everything here, including the logo, text, messages, everything. That is under customization. We click add, create a new, test, customization 1. In here it is divided into two main sections, Logon Page and Portal Page. Logon Page, of course, it is test SSL. It will show this page when you want to log in. You can put some additional information, copyright, some warnings saying that connect if you're authorized and so on. The portal page is something that will be shown to your users or to you when you connect, when you are authenticated. Here it is. You can change the logo. That's what I showed you. You can change the colors. Let's just play with it. We'll show you. Let's change that size 150. Bold. You can lock it down. For instance, you don't want your users to have access to all options. Let's say you want to give them access to web applications. That's where you can change. I'll show you that in a moment as well. You can change that in the connection profile as well, and group policy. We go to advanced. Customization is test. We click OK, apply, and in the group policy, I think it was under the group policy, yes, portal, here you can lock it down. For instance, you will tell, well, I don't want them to use these three options. I don't want them to have access to ActiveX relay. It's very, very flexible. URL entry? No, disable it. The best way is to play with it, try, click everywhere and see how it behaves. Let's log on. That's the name that we applied. Username was test, not Tesco. As you can see, there is no field to type the URL. We removed that. We removed a lot of options on the left hand side as well. I have set up a lot of Ssl VPNs for third parties, for companies that were allowed to, for instance, connect to one server. It's very important to lock it down, and literally they could click on one link. Very similar to the screen that you can see now. There was only one link, one bookmark for them, allowing to connect to a server and nothing else. It's not complicated, even though that is a Cisco ASA firewall. ASA, it's pretty easy to manage it because thanks to this ASDM tool that is really reliable. Not sure if you know, but in Cisco, in most cases we use the CLI. We have to type all commands. However, as you can see, ASDM is a reliable tool and you can use that to manage your ASA. In most cases you don't have to use the CLI. It's good to know it. Sometimes ASDM can be confused. In our example, everything was okay and we were able to connect to this Ssl portal. In this video, I showed you how to set up an Ssl portal on a Cisco ASA firewall. Thank you very much.
A Pptp server on an Asus Ruta. I have an Asus ACS56U Ruta in here, and it is, or it can be, a VPN router. It supports Pptp. Yes, I know it's not the most secure VPN, still it is a good option if you want to connect to a home network using VPN, and it should be very, very easy to set up. The goal is to see how it works. I will try and connect from another PC, make sure that it is all okay. This router, please note, has got a one port. I don't want to connect it to the internet directly. That's why what I'm going to do, I will connect it to my router, and then I will take a laptop that you can see and will connect it to one of the LAN ports to simulate a local area network. Then I will connect to another PC in my network, will try and VPN to that guy, and through this router I should be able to access the main laptop using Pptp. We'll see how it works. So the first thing, I'm going to take an RJ45 cable, connect it to one of the LAN ports. Let's just go for first port. And connect it to the laptop, because we have to set up Pptp on it. There is no configuration on that router. All I did, I played with wireless on it, because this is 802.11 AC. It's pretty fast, by the way. So that's the IP address of the router. And now we will have to find an option to set up Pptp. It's VPN server. And in here we have Pptp server. Let's click yes. Now we have to create a username and password. It will be a local one, so let's say test, password test. And let's add apply. And in theory, that should do the trick. Now what I'm going to do, I will take a really long cable. Here we go. A really long cable. Connect it to the one port on this router. It's the blue one over here. And then the other end I will connect to my network. I want to make sure that this router recognizes it will be like an internet connection for my Asus router. Let's give it a go. So I will take the cable and go to my router and connect it to one of the LAN ports on it. That's done. So now let's go to WAN and see. Let's just go to status and it should tell us. I can see I can access the internet from that PC, so that is a good sign. It means that everything was recognized. Let me just check if there is. Yeah, there are network tools. Let's ping 8888. Oops. As you can see, it is all working. It means that my router is connected to the internet, or to my main router, to be more specific, and now I can go to one of my PCs VPN and test it. I will check the IP address as well. ipconfig. So that was my IP address. Make sure that you can see that. There we go. So that's the IP address. 143. Let me just go back and check VPN server, VPN details. Okay, so that's the IP address I'm going to get from that range. I am okay with that, to be honest. I am okay with that. So now I will go to my PC, I will try and Pptp to it, and then I hope I will be able to ping 192.168.1.43. Let's do it.
Network security, virtual private networks, cryptographic hash functions. Hash is a solution that allows you to take a block of data and get a fixed size string that is a hash value. As you can see here on the screen, we take a message and then we get a fixed size string. We have a lot of solutions for that. I'm pretty sure you have heard, if not, you will. MD5, SHA, two examples of hash functions that we use. The main question is, why would you do that? Here is the answer. We want to make sure that a message will not be changed in transit. For instance, I am sending a very important email to Mike. I want to make sure that if it arrives at Mike's office, it will say what I expected to, what I wanted to say. Yeah, so if you are in point A, you want to send something to point B, what you can do, let's say you have a message here, right? You want to make sure that Mike gets that message. It's really important. What you can do, you can run a hash function against this message and get an MD5 string. An MD5 string that you will attach to this email as well. Let's say it's 5A1SA15A. Okay, that's what you received. I'll show you an online tool, you can play with it. You attach that to this email as well, and of course your original message. Why would you do that? Well, that is Mike, right? What Mike will do before reading this message, it will run MD5 against the message that he received, and he will compare the hashes. He wants to make sure it is 100% the same. If Mike receives 5A1SA15ACB, it means that this message has not been changed since you sent that. Does that make sense? That's the idea. The same with passwords. Imagine you have a password of Cisco, right? You don't want to keep that in clear text. The easiest solution is to run a hash function like MD5 against this message, and instead of storing Cisco, you will keep an MD5 hash, A5CA. It is much longer just to keep it simple. You will keep that message. What you have to remember about hashing is that it cannot be reverse engineered. What I mean by that if you get a hash string, you cannot figure out that it was Cisco. That's a very important feature of all hash functions, that you cannot figure. It's not like encryption and decryption, right? It's not like that. When you encrypt Cisco with 3 DES, you can decrypt that with 3 DES. If you hash that with MD5, you cannot use MD5 or anything like that again to figure out what the original message was. Going back to my example, it means that you are going to store A5CA. Now you want to log in. If you don't know that it's Cisco, how do you know that a user, when he types Cisco in the password field, how do you know it is actually Cisco? Well, it's very easy. You will run MD5 against the password that he typed. And if you get A5CA, it means that it's the same password. You don't even know what the password is. And that is a great thing about hashes, that you don't even know what the original message was. And you don't really care. Because the idea is here. You want to make sure that it has not been changed. You don't really care what's inside, what the password or the message was. You don't really care. You want to make sure that nobody has changed that message. A very important thing that I want to add here, and it's really interesting, is collisions. That's what happened to MD5. One of the reasons we moved away from MD5, now we use SHA in VPNs. There are 2 main standards, is MD5 and SHA, and we moved away. One of the reasons was that they found collisions. It means that you can find 2 different messages, let's say Cisco and I love networks, whatever, it doesn't matter. It's a fixed length. Yeah, remember, it doesn't matter how long a message is, it will produce a fixed hash. Now, it means that if you take 2 messages, you will get the same hash. That is called a cryptographic hash collision. And that's not a good thing, as you can imagine. And that is something that happened to MD5. That's not the only problem with MD5. That's why we should not use MD5 if possible. We should use SHA. It is a better option for us to do that. SHA-1. SHA, by the way, stands for Secure Hash Algorithm, and SHA-1 produces a 160-bit long hash. It's much more secure, and that's what we should use. It's not only SHA-1. SHA-1 is just an example. There's SHA-0, 1, 2, 3. It's not very important for us to discuss it for now. Of course, when you go up, the output size in bits is larger. For instance, SHA-3, you can get even 512 bits. That's a lot, yeah? And there are, in theory, then there can be some collisions in SHA-1. That's why we are trying to even move to SHA-2, SHA-3, because no collisions have been found in SHA-2 and SHA-3. Well, maybe if you're watching it, now you're watching it and say, oh, that's not true. Yeah, it does change every day. That's why you should keep an eye on all news and make sure that it is okay. What you have to remember about it applies to all security solutions. You should take your time, make sure that it is really confirmed that someone broke this protocol, and it's not enough to read on Yahoo, with all due respect to Yahoo, that don't use SHA-1, it's not secure anymore. That's not enough. You have to make sure that it is really, really true. And believe me, it will be confirmed by many, many people in a few hours that we should move away, for instance, from SHA-1. I promised I would show you a website. Here we go. Let's say we want to get a hash from Cisco. That's MD5. Sometimes it's called a checksum as well. That's MD5. And please check what's really important. Let's make a small change in this message. Yeah, let's say replace I with O. A new message. It's not even similar to the previous one. Let's make something more complicated, like I love networking, right? That's MD5. Now I will add one space. That's it. Yeah? Please compare these two messages. And that is one of the requirements. If you think, oh, I can come up with a new hash solution, fair enough, but that is one of the things that you have to provide. That if you make a small change, then you will get a checksum that has nothing to do with the previous message. It's a very, very important feature. It will allow you to recognize, going back to our example with Mike, who received a message from you, it will be very, very easy for Mike to recognize that this message has been changed. Because if I do like that, Mike runs MD5 and he gets something like that. Yeah, it's not like you have to compare every single, oh yeah, C is different, it's B. Not really, yeah? If I not only remove, but I replace something, I will get a message like that. Again, it's a very, very interesting topic. I encourage you to read a little more. That is what I have covered, its basics. Today we need some additional features. For instance, especially if we want to keep our passwords, it's not enough to use MD5 or SHA. We have to make it a little more complicated and secure, because there is still a chance that someone can try and perform a brute force attack and guess our passwords. Anyway, that's why we have to make it a little more secure. I encourage you, Wiki is a great place you can start with. There is a huge section dedicated to attacks and things that you can do against MD5, SHA-1, SHA-2, and how you can try and break these solutions. Thank you very much. General networking, network fundamentals, port forwarding. You will find thousands of questions on the internet. Oh, I have a router, I want to access my IP camera. I have a laptop, I want to manage it remotely. How can I do that? How can I forward a port or whatever you call it? How can I do that? Well, first of all, the idea behind port forwarding is very simple. in a small office, home office network, it means that you want to access something that is inside of your network from the outside world. Your router is a firewall. It has a firewall, it has NAT enabled, network address translation. Long story short, it will not allow anyone from the internet to access your home PC, your IP camera, your NAS server, your email server, whatever you have in your network will be protected. That's the idea. That's why we have a router, we have a firewall, we have NAT, we have all these solutions to make sure that nobody can see your screen when you go to Facebook. That's great. In many cases, you want to access something that is inside of your network from the outside world. That's what port forwarding is all about. In a small office, home office network, when we talk about Linksys, D-Link, Netgear, and so on, routers, it is one option. In the background, it's going to do two things. It's going to change your firewall and your NATs. I like to mention that because if you go to a more advanced option, you will never ever find an option port forwarding. It does not exist. You will not find it on a Cisco firewall, you will not find it on a Ssl firewall, you will not find it on, I don't know, a FortiGate firewall. You have to create two rules to make it happen on these devices. Because this is a small office, home office device, it is combined in one feature, that is port forwarding. Remember about that. If you go to a more advanced device, you will have to do two things. You will have to create a NAT rule, network address translation. It means it is a solution that allows to hide your IP addresses, private IP addresses, behind a public IP address, and you will have to open your firewall. Port forwarding, as you can see here in the picture, it will allow us to connect to a device that is behind our router remotely. Why would you do that? I have given a few examples already. You can access your IP camera, you can access your PC remotely, you can access your laptop or printer, whatever you want, if you open a port. Please remember that if you want to do that, you have to use a protocol that is as secure as possible. You should avoid using HTTP, which is clear text, Telnet, which is clear text. Go for HTTPS, go for VPN, go for SSH if you want to enable all these protocols. Go for a secure connection if possible. You all go, okay, that's a lot on the screen. Can you give me a simple example, please, because I still don't get it? Sure, let's do it then. My Linksys router, just to remind you, it's like that. Here, the one port is connected to the ISP. Cloud, that's the internet, and then you are here. That's the internet. Then you have a laptop, which is 192.168.1.100. By the way, you should assign a static IP address to your devices. Do not use DHCP for them. DHCP means dynamic. If this IP address changes, then you will not be able to connect. Go and assign a static IP address to your Windows PC, to your IP camera, and so on. Do not leave it with DHCP. I'll show that to you in a moment. In my case, the Linksys router, this one, the public IP address, well, it's not really public, but we assume it is. When I go to status, I should see my public IP address. It's this one. Well, it's not really public, but we'll assume it is. it's 172.16.1.28. That is something that I would type here, and it would go to my router. Yep. Why? Okay, it's not public. What do you mean? Well, because I'm connected to my router, and this router is connected to the internet. If that was an edge router, it would get a real public IP address. It doesn't change anything here. Then I have a laptop, which is 192.168.1.100. As I said, it would be a good idea to give it a static IP address. Let's do it then. 192.168.1. Let's use .2. This router is 192.168.1.1. Yeah. Let's use .2. Make sure you go for an IP address that is not in your DHCP scope. What do we mean by that? Is when you go to setup, you will see your DHCP scope here. We start with number 100. Make sure you do not assign a static IP address 101. Go for something that is not in the scope. Yeah. Let's go for network connections. Properties. As you can see, now it's set up to get an IP address automatically. We want to give it 192.168.1.2. 192.168.1.1, that's links. DNS, let's use Google. 8888 is a Google DNS server. Okay, close. Let's check that we can ping the internet. We have not broken anything. Yes, we can. That's absolutely fine. Going back to our topology, 192.168.1.2 is our laptop. Public IP address in a way is 172.16.1.28. That's what we are going to type in a browser, or I'm going to open it for RDP, Remote Desktop Protocol. That is a built-in feature in Microsoft Windows that will allow me to manage my laptop remotely. RDP is okay. It's not the most secure way to connect to your network, to your device. If possible, you should use VPNs. RDP is not bad. However, it's not the most secure protocol that you can use, and home versions of Windows will not allow you to RDP. What do you mean RDP? It means I can manage my laptop or my PC remotely. That's what I use here. That is remote desktop connection. Yeah, I use RDP, Remote Desktop Protocol. It uses port 3389. Okay. What I have to do now on this router, I have to tell this router, I have to educate that, I have to train him and tell this router, dear router, if someone asks for, let me change the font, if someone asks for 172.16.1.28 on port 3389, that is a unique port for RDP. If someone asks for it, can you be so nice and send it to 192.168.1.2? Forward it, port forwarding, forward it on port 3389 as well. Don't change this port. Why? Because this PC will listen for RDP connections on port 3389 as well. Does that make sense? Let's try it then. It's always a good idea to test it first. Let me open RDP. I'm over here. When I type 172.16.1.28, I should not be able to connect. Why? Because there is no port forwarding done. This device is saying, well, sorry, I will not allow you to go through. Nobody asked me to do that. Go away. Let's do it then. on this router you go to Applications and Gaming, and here you say Application. It is just a name, RDP 2, port 3389, 3389. What is the destination address? .2. Do you want to enable it? Yes, I want. Okay. Make sure you save your settings. Continue. What about now? Okay. That's a good sign. Let me close this window. And I use user and my password. And I am able to connect to this laptop using RDP from the outside world. Take a look, it's the same screen, yeah, because it's the same laptop. Again, I was here. I asked my router 3389, can you be so nice and forward this request to 192.168.1.2? And 192.168.1.2 is this laptop. Make sure again that you use a static IP address, and if possible use a secure connection, HTTPS, SSH, VPNs. RDP is not bad. You will read a lot of things on the internet and people advise do not use that directly, and I agree with it. If you don't have a choice, well, it's not as bad as HTTP or Telnet. It's not clear text, it is encrypted. If you use a long password, it's not going to be that bad. However, it is a well-known port. You can always try and change that. It's not a big security solution. It's not, oh yeah, that will secure my network. What you can do, you can say that every time it arrives on port, not this one, but you will change this port, and you will say it arrives on port 3388 or something higher than that, just to make it unique, 8888. Send it to 3389. That will make it a little more secure, because people expect RDP, Remote Desktop Protocol, to be on port 3389. It's not a big deal. You can scan the ports that are open and find it out in 3 seconds. Still, a small thing that you can achieve using port forwarding and another port. I'll show you our favorite Asus AC66U. I think in here I found it under 1 and virtual server port forwarding. Here we go. Service name, port range, and your local PC. Local port. That's it. On D-Link, you go to advanced and there is a virtual server. You say name, whatever name, RDP. Here it's your local address, 192.168.1.2. I think you don't need that one. Here 3389, 3389. This is TCP. I think on this one, yeah, both, that should be TCP. Do not open it for both TCP and UDP if you don't need that. It's not a big issue because there's nothing listening maybe on port UDP 3389. Still, go and be more specific. The same, for instance, HTTPS 443, open it for TCP only. Okay, on Asus, on D-Link, if you're not sure, you can always Google that and you will find a lot of examples on the internet. It is especially popular for things like IP cameras and NAS servers. A lot of people use dynamic DNS. We'll talk about it later on as well. In this video, we talked about port forwarding. I showed you how to open a port on your router to access your laptop using RDP, HTTPS, HTTP, Telnet, whatever protocol you need. Thank you very much. Network Security, Virtual Private Networks, Lab, Teamviewer, a site-to-site VPN. I know it is very important to understand how VPNs work. Nothing will replace a real-world example. I was thinking of the easiest example I could show you, and I think Teamviewer is the easiest one I can come up with. Teamviewer is, if you have never seen that before, Teamviewer is a remote support tool. It's an application that you can use to connect to, for instance, a PC remotely, see what's going on it, connect to it, and sort out any issues. And of course, you can download some files, upload some files. Not a lot of people know that Teamviewer has got an additional feature. It can create a site-to-site VPN. It means I can map a drive, I can access files. It will create a site-to-site VPN. Teamviewer is an application that you can use for free if you are a home user. If you want to do that, if you want to use it at home or connect to your home PC, they're not going to charge you for that, and it's awesome. It's a great application. If you want to use that in your company, you have to buy a license. We're okay, because this is for a home network. That's what I want to cover in this section. You can download Teamviewer for free from teamviewer.com. I prepared a document where I show you how to go through this process. It's very simple. The only thing I want to mention here is that you have to take Show Advanced Settings. Thanks to that, you will see a screen asking, do you want to use a VPN? And you say, yes, I want to use VPN. Teamviewer is going to add a VPN driver. It's a virtual NIC card, network interface card. I'll show you that in a moment. If you have Teamviewer already running on your PC and VPN driver is not in place, you can go to Options, Advanced, and then add it here. Just click here, Install, and it will add this NIC card for you. That's what you're after. When you go to Network Connections, that is Windows 7. It's very similar in Windows 8, Vista, so on. You should see a Teamviewer VPN network card. That's what you're after. If you cannot see that on the list, you have to go back to Teamviewer and make sure that you add it from the advanced options. If you don't have it in place, Teamviewer site-to-site VPN is not going to work. And note, you don't need that if you want to use Teamviewer to connect to a PC remotely. You don't need that. This is required if you are after a site-to-site VPN, and that's what we want to do in this lab. I am connected to one of the laptops. Teamviewer is up and running. I want to show you the network settings. Let me show you that. That's what I meant. Teamviewer VPN adapter. You have to have it in place. If you don't, then you have to go to Options, Advanced, scroll down, and click here. Of course, it recognizes it's already in place. That's why it can recognize that it will suggest, oh well, I can remove it for you only. Of course, if you take advanced options during the installation process, you can add it at this stage. I always recommend you test this Teamviewer connection first with remote control. I know it's working because I tested it a few minutes ago. If you have never done it, make sure that you test it using the remote control tool first. If you're happy and you know it's working, you can see the screen. Actually, let me show you what I mean. It will ask for a password. I have used that before, that's why it can recognize it. I should see the screen of the other laptop. Of course, that's not what we want here. We want to set up a side-to-side VPN. However, it is a good idea to test it and make sure that Teamviewer is up and running. It will show me the screen of the other laptop in a moment. It's going to be pretty slow because it is 3G on the other end. That's why it can take a while. As you can see, it's working. I can connect. Now we confirmed it's up and running. We go for VPN, and that's really easy in Teamviewer. It's, you don't have to do anything. Run Teamviewer on both PCs. Click VPN. It will establish the connection. Log on, and in a few moments we'll see, here we go, we can see our VPN is running. It's a side-to-side VPN. We can test it using ping. As you can see, it's working. And now the final test. Let's try and access some files. That's the IP address, that's the remote IP address. Let's access some files. Okay, we are asked for username and password. User password. And we are connected. I can see my shared drives, my shared folders. It's great. Side-to-side VPN using Teamviewer. Very easy. I'll show you that again. Let's ping it again. Great. The only problem with that is that you have to know the ID of your remote PC. Teamviewer will try and keep the same ID number for your PC. That's why it is a good thing. You can code your password as well, which is great. A nice tool. Not a lot of people know that Teamviewer allows you to create a side-to-side VPN. The reason for that is that this is a feature that is not added during the installation by default. You have to go to advanced options, and that's why a lot of people don't know that a feature like that exists. It's great, easy to set up. Give it a try and see how it works. In this video we talked about Teamviewer, and I showed you how to set up a side-to-side VPN using this tool. Thank you very much. Network security, virtual private networks. It is time to say goodbye. Let's try and summarize the series. I hope that you enjoyed the videos that I had prepared for you, and I hope that, well, if you're technical, I hope that you learned a little more about VPNs, and I encourage you to set up a side-to-side VPN at home or in a lab or in your own network. If you're not technical, then I hope that my videos made you more aware of VPNs. It's really important. Why? Well, we send thousands of files every day across VPNs. A lot of sensitive data, a lot of documents, spreadsheets, things that are really important. We want to make sure it is all encrypted, secure, and will get to the destination. That's why it is really important for you to understand VPNs, how they work, that for instance Pptp is not something that we should use, and a lot of people use it every day. Okay, as a backup solution, fair enough, but not if you want to work from home. You should be aware of it. Why? Well, because you are sending a very important spreadsheet at the moment, and you want to make sure it is encrypted, it is secure, it is everything is designed in the way it should be. I hope you have a very good idea about VPN protocols now. You understand Pptp, L2TP, IPsec. You know all advantages of SSL VPNs. You can raise a question like that in your company. You can ask, okay guys, do we have SSL VPN? That's really awesome. I could browse to it because I was in a hotel and I couldn't connect with VPN because IPsec was blocked. What about SSL? That's port 443 HTTPS, and it would allow me to connect. You know, things like that can make a difference and will allow you to make your life easier and work in a more secure way. Thank you very much, and again I will ask you to provide some feedback. Thanks for watching.